Hello everyone, welcome back again. The end of the 1960s marked more than just the closing of a decade. It represented the exhaustion of innocence, the collision of optimism with reality, and the moment when popular music finally accepted that it could be as complex, conflicted, and contradictory as the world itself. Rock music did not merely soundtrack that transition, it actively shaped it. By 1969, artists were no longer content with simple love songs or teenage rebellion. Records became statements. Songs stretched longer, lyrics became denser, and production grew increasingly ambitious. Yet amid all that experimentation, some of the most enduring tracks from the era carried the simplest possible titles: a single word. These titles did not explain themselves, they invited the listener in. Here are 5 one-word classic rock songs released in 1969 that continue to resonate today, not because of nostalgia alone, but because they captured something timeless in sound, mood, and intent. Check this out. Number 1, Stand by Sly and the Family Stone, 1969. Few bands in the late 1960s sounded as urgent and alive as Sly and the Family Stone. They were not just a funk band, not just a rock group, and not merely a social statement. They were all of those things at once, blended into a sound that felt unavoidable. When Stand kicks in, it does not ask politely for attention, it demands it. The song is built on momentum. Rhythmically tight but emotionally expansive, Stand functions as both a dance track and a call to action. Its title is literal and symbolic at the same time. To stand is to rise, to resist, to stay upright when pressure pushes you down. Sly Stone delivers the message without preaching. Instead, he lets the groove do the convincing. What makes Stand endure is its balance. The song never sacrifices joy for seriousness. It moves bodies as equally as it sharpens minds. More than 5 decades later, it still sounds like a reminder that music can be uplifting and confrontational in the same breath. Number 2, Something by the Beatles, 1969. By the time Abbey Road was released, the Beatles were nearing the end of their journey together, even if the public did not fully realize it yet. Tensions simmered beneath the surface, and the band's unity was more fragile than ever. Yet out of that environment came Something, a song of remarkable restraint and emotional clarity. Written by George Harrison, Something is defined by what it does not say as much as what it does. The title itself suggests uncertainty, a feeling that cannot be neatly explained. Rather than spelling out devotion in grand terms, the song circles around emotion, allowing space for ambiguity. That openness is precisely why it works. Musically, Something is elegant without being ornate. Every note feels considered, every pause intentional. It stands as proof that simplicity, when handled with care, can be more powerful than complexity. In a catalog filled with innovation, Something remains one of the band's most human moments, a quiet affirmation that love does not always need explanation. Number 3, Lodi by Creedence Clearwater, 1969. Creedence Clearwater built their reputation on clarity. While many of their contemporaries explored psychedelia or studio experimentation, CCR focused on storytelling, groove, and emotional directness. Lodi is a perfect example of that approach. At its core, Lodi is about being stuck, physically, creatively, and emotionally. The title refers to a real place, but it functions more as a state of mind than a geographic location. John Fogerty sings from the perspective of a musician stranded between ambition and reality, caught in a cycle that feels impossible to escape. What makes Lodi timeless is its honesty. There is no romanticizing of struggle here, no heroic narrative arc. Instead, the song settles into resignation, letting repetition reinforce the feeling of being trapped. Its simplicity is not a limitation, it is the point. Lodi continues to resonate because it articulates a frustration that never goes out of style. Number 4, Because by the Beatles, 1969. By the time the Beatles recorded Abbey Road, they were no longer functioning as a band in the traditional sense. Personal divisions had hardened, creative paths had splintered, and the sense of collective identity that once defined them was quietly dissolving. Yet paradoxically, it was in this fractured state that they produced some of their most refined and emotionally complex work. Because stands as one of the clearest examples of that late period maturity. Unlike the outward romanticism of Something, Because turns inward. The song is built on stillness rather than momentum, creating a meditative atmosphere that feels suspended in time. Its title is deceptively simple. Because is a word that usually introduces an explanation, yet here it offers no clear resolution. Instead, it opens a door into reflection, suggesting that emotion does not always need justification to exist. Musically, the track is meticulous without sounding cold. Layered harmonies float above a restrained instrumental foundation, giving the song a weightless quality. Every element feels intentional, yet nothing feels excessive. It's a reminder that the Beatles, even at the end, understood the power of restraint. Because endures not as a grand statement, but as a quiet acknowledgement that beauty can exist without argument. Number 5. Helpless by Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, 1970.
Leave us helpless, helpless, helpless.
Few songs capture vulnerability as directly as Helpless. Written and recorded during the turbulent closing months of the 1960s, the track reflects a generation grappling with disillusionment while still clinging to memory and meaning. Although Deja Vu wouldn't be released until 1970, Helpless belongs firmly to the emotional landscape of 1969. The song unfolds, slowly, almost cautiously. Neil Young's voice sounds exposed, unguarded, as if each line is being discovered in real time. The one-word title encapsulates the song's emotional core perfectly. Helpless is not framed as despair, but as honesty. It acknowledges fragility without dramatizing it, allowing listeners to recognize themselves in its quiet admission. What gives the song lasting power is its universality. It doesn't anchor itself to a specific event or political moment. Instead, it drifts through memory, longing, and uncertainty, themes that remain relevant regardless of era. The harmonies provided by Crosby, Stills, and Nash add warmth without smoothing over the song's emotional edges. Helpless remains timeless because it understands that sometimes the most truthful thing music can do is simply sit with uncertainty and let it breathe. These 5 songs prove that a title doesn't need to explain everything to be effective. In fact, restraint can be its own form of strength. One-word titles leave room for interpretation, allowing listeners to bring their own experiences into the music. In 1969, as rock music expanded in scope and ambition, some artists understood that clarity did not require excess. Whether through funk-driven calls to action, intimate reflections on love, or sharp social commentary, these songs used simplicity as a gateway rather than a limitation. More than 50 years later, they remain awesome, not because they belong to the past, but because they continue to speak in the present. Those were 5 one-word classic rock songs from 1969 that still sound powerful today. Each of them proves that a great idea doesn't need a long title to leave a lasting impact. Do you agree with this list, or is there another one-word song from the late 60s that deserves a spot here? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this deep dive into classic rock history, don't forget to like the video, subscribe for more stories behind the music, and we'll see you in the next one.